Hello, everyone, and welcome to our informational call for the Resonant Healing Practitioner program. You are here with some folks that you may not have met before. You've met Jaya and me before, but you may not have met Asha and Pernilla before, who are the powerhouses behind there actually being a certification program. So we're very happy to be with you all, and I'm going to turn it over to Pernilla because she's our master of ceremonies.
Yeah. Oh, so good to see you here, to see these faces of whom there is a lot I don't know. What a promising view it is. So we hope to lead you safely through a process of information and inspiration and perhaps even enlightenment. Who knows? On our call today is also, at least so far, 3 graduates, including myself, of this program, and at least 2 people who at the moment are taking 3 who are taking part in the current program. So they will have a chance to also share their experiences. And we've got an agenda for you. And then, of course, there will be chances of asking questions. And you can ask them by writing them in the chat. And just be aware that it's quite likely that if you ask questions in the beginning of the call, that they will be answered as we go. And as I said, there will be opportunities for asking Sarah and all of us questions by the end. Right. So with this little preamble, and very, very, very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you for showing interest in this program, which for some of us, at least for myself, has been life-changing. So I hope this would be the case for you as well, that you will, at least that tonight or today, that you are giving it some attention to see if this is a good match for you. So, Sarah, can you tell a bit about what resonant healing is?
Yes. I'll begin with just a bit of information about trauma, about emotional trauma, and that is to say about emotional trauma that it is the thing that most disrupts brains. It's the thing that causes people to have intrusive memories, which can either be intrusive memories of actual lived experience or could also be intrusive memories in terms of feeling states that come in and don't shift, for things like a constant state of anxiety or a constant state of depression or a constant state of shame or a constant state of having a sense of not quite existing. And those are all signs of emotional trauma. And before this time period, people mostly lived with the after effects of emotional trauma for their whole lives because there wasn't a lot of knowledge about how things shifted. And there wasn't a lot of neuroscience that let us see what needed to be done to support the changes in the brain that happen when people heal from emotional trauma. So at the same time that I so mourn so many things about living in the present day, which include being so worried about climate crisis and systemic racism and increasing levels of pandemics and all the things that are really difficult in today's life, we also are living in a time that is, for the first time in human history, immensely hopeful in terms of anybody who wants to finding a good way to live within their own brain, experiencing their own brain as a comfortable nest, rather than having to experience their own brain as an Iron Maiden, which was one of those torture devices that had spikes on the inside and gradually closed in on people and punctured them. So we want our brains not to be Iron Maidens. We want our brains to be cozy nests. And the sweet thing about resonant healing is that we can use resonant healing to do it. It does not happen immediately. It happens over a course of years. But in order to really maximize what we know supports healing from trauma, we actually need to become quite disciplined about the way we use language. There are many ways to use language and make inquiries of people, and many people have approaches to doing healing work. But the more that those approaches slide into an instrumental way of thinking, an inquiry with the client that is a cognitive inquiry, rather than an am I accompanying you inquiry, the more time is wasted. Now, the Resonant Healing Practitioner program is a program that is designed to bring you gradually into a more and more rigorous and disciplined approach to using language in session work. So, yes, so in honor of that, we have prerequisites of being exposed to and in the swim of resonant language before you actually get into the program. And we also have a request for certain numbers of hours spent with the material before we get into the program, because it is quite demanding, as you will hear. How'd I do, Pernilla and Asha? Anything you'd like to have me add there?
No, this is wonderful. Yes, and I'm also noticing that I've been following other trauma programs than yours for the last 10 years, like what Ruth Basinski is offering in the National Institute for the NICABM. And I'm just noticing that now they are beginning to talk about what you've been talking about the last 10 years.
Oh, how interesting.
Which is this accompaniment, the warmth, the welcome, and the precision of language. They haven't talked about that before. It's slowly coming now. So I feel so honored to have been with you these years, and to actually have gotten to a state where I can confirm what you just said, that it is true. It is true. Yeah. So anything else you can say about what it takes to offer resonant healing to others?
Well, what it takes more than anything else to offer resonant healing to others is a combination of being really clear about what is instrumental language and what is language that creates accompaniment. And that's number one. And number two is to have worked with our own issues, our own experiences, our own traumas, and the ways in which our own brain slips out of resonance. Because what happens with brains is that for brains, emotions are not, they cannot be taken for granted. The ability to feel and follow other people's emotions is not to be taken for granted. It is something that is developed over time from other people holding us. So the experience of someone having sorrow and us being able to stay with them rather than trying to fix them is infinite. It is an infinite process. I myself have been spending the last 2 weeks reviewing the midpoint journey documents from the people in the program, and it's made me so aware of my own slippages. So here I am teaching all about resonant language, and then I get into a client session and I love my client. And I want my client to see that they are not wrong. And so I get intense and I'm like, oh dear, this is a left shift. Here we are again. So it is infinite. If we really move into loving the people that we love in our sessions, we are continually stretched. And it is so the experience of being in the Resonant Healing Practitioner program, if you want to become certified, which is a requirement for being in the program, is that you want to become certified. And then if you want to maintain your certification, is the process of continual growth, continual study, and continual supervision. Because otherwise we just reach a plateau and we stop. And we yell at our clients with love, and we just stay in that place, rather than growing and learning and becoming bigger and being able to hold more with the people that we care so much about.
Wonderful, thank you. Yes, and this is one thing I so enjoy that you have been saying repeatedly, that this is not a curriculum that you offer and we can learn it and then we use it,
Yeah.
but that this is a process, that we are in process with the curriculum with our clients, and that there are some feedback loops in it that we nourish and welcome. In order to keep us relevant, to keep us
Yes.
alive with our clients.
Yes, I love that
Yeah.
term, to keep us relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know, every program within these realms that is offered in the world. I only know few of them probably, but I've never come across anything that emphasizes the beingness of the person as much as this program does, and the constant jihad, the constant the constant commitment to being in sync with ourselves and being in service of the client. Yeah. So how is this certification program different from your other offerings?
This certification program is different from my other offerings in its focus on session work. So you can take the other offerings and learn a great deal, and you can actually begin to experiment with session work, for example, in the breakout rooms and so on. Those are little experiments with session work. But what this program does is it has a whole bunch of elements that take you directly into practice. It requests and requires that you do work with small groups, and you receive feedback, and you take videos of your work and create transcripts and read through them and think about the places where you see that you aren't tracking emotion. So it's a program that requires engagement, full participation in all the elements of the program, and it requires a thoughtfulness and a discipline about language and the use of language.
Discipline in the use of language.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. And can you say a little bit about how this is different from NVC?
Oh, yes, of course. So not in nonviolent communication, the focus is on wondering about your own and other people's feelings and needs, which is, it's almost like Marshall Rosenberg was a walking neuroscientist in his in his understanding of the human brain and of what language does for humans. He was working before there was any neuroscience to begin to show the areas of the brain that get lit up by naming feelings. What happens in the brain when feelings words are named accurately? What happens in the brain when needs words are named accurately? And so he was working in a way by guesswork, but very, very good and competent guesswork. But resonant language takes that understanding of what feelings and needs do in the brain and looks at what are the other kinds of language use that do the same thing. So there are 9 different kinds of the use of language that I have discovered, not to mention all of the nonverbals, but all of the verbal forms of language that do the same thing. That feelings and needs is one of the possibilities, but there are 8 other possibilities. So it's almost like if we come into this work with a nonviolent communication practice, it's a subset of what is learned in the context of these larger possibilities.
And now you do name neurobiology yourself. So how scientific is the program? Are there any concerns about that for people who don't have a scientific background, like myself?
There are no concerns about not having a scientific background, but in order to really be effective with this work, one of the things that isn't named as a form of resonant language, but in a way is a form of resonant language, is talking to people about their brains. Because when we move to the meta level of talking and take the big picture on our brains, we're inviting a right hemisphere view. We're inviting a relational view of the brain. So if we begin to think about those unpleasant, sarcastic, self-criticizing voices that all of us can have, if we begin to say, oh, that's not a true voice, that voice comes from trauma, then all of a sudden a new level of compassion opens up. I was working yesterday with a client who has a very strong seeking circuit, a very intense and compelling drive to get things done and to meet people and to find a good partner. And I said to him, and we've been working for 10 years, and I said, is there any way to have compassion, to like this part of yourself, to have affection for this part of yourself? Because when you have affection for this part of yourself, you're bigger than that part of yourself. That part is no longer the main power holder in the brain. We create something bigger than the main power holder in the brain, which has been this self-critical voice. And when we can talk about this with our clients, it's very helpful. So a big part of the study and the ongoing education to maintain certification in this program is being current with neuroscience, as far as I'm able to provide those entries. And I do monthly webinars that combine neuroscience and resonance for people who are interested in that. So even if you end up not being interested in doing the certification program, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm so lit up by this, that's a ongoing possibility to stay current with what's unfolding in the world of neuroscience, self-compassion, and self-education.
Wonderful. I'll just let this sink in for a moment. How neuroscience becomes an agent towards self-compassion.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So,
and my client could, for the first time in 10 years, he had a spark of affection for that heavy, intense, compelling, driven seeking circuit. It was quite a little miracle.
Oh, yeah. Ain't that just rewarding?
Joyful. Joyful. Yeah.
So Sarah, who is this program meant for?
This program is meant for people who probably the most effective entry into the program is that you've felt your brain changed by the combination of resonant language and relational neuroscience. And you're going, heck, that's a good thing. This is magical. Let's learn it and do it with others. So it's for people who really want to bring this experience into the world, who really want to experience it more deeply themselves and really want to serve a larger mission of creating more healing and more self-compassion and more brains that are easy to live with in this world.
And is this restricted to some professions, or what do you think?
No, my experience is that I came in to this work entirely, rather than with a pre-existing education, I came in with a devotion and a commitment to learning and to working with others. And so that's really what I'm looking for in people's applications. For those of you who are already in helping professions, the helping profession, we just got for the United States the access to some continuing education units for people. So you'd have to check with your own, it's out of the state of Illinois, you'd have to check with your own governing bodies to see whether they would accept such CEUs, but many are accepting online trainings from all over that provide CEUs now. So for those in the US and possibly in Canada, you can make inquiries with your governing bodies to find out about whether they apply as continuing education units.
Yeah, and I can actually add that last year I had the 103 hours of this certification course accepted by the International Coach Federation. Okay. as those I needed 40 hours, and I had more than that in order to renew my PCC.
Ah, very good.
Yes, I was actually quite surprised, but too, I wrote honestly. I sent them parts of the curriculum, and they loved it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so of course there is a professional direction to take with this, and I remember from our first cohort, there was one person who graduated, and she chose to call herself a resonant healing ski instructor because she was a ski instructor, and people at her. So especially she was teaching children, and the parents would come to her and say, "What kind of magic are you doing to my kid? Something is really changing for them." And then she found out, okay, so I'll just officially put it on my title. I'm a resonant healing ski instructor. So I mean that's also a helping
So it
profession.
can be brought in, yeah, it can be brought into anything really. Yeah.
Okay, so how do participants need to prepare themselves to become ready for, or to be considered for, the program that starts a year from now?
I think I'd like to have Jaya speak about that if she's willing, to speak about how do participants make themselves ready to begin with the program that starts a year from now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I got distracted. There is a question in the chat about CEUs, and I want to say that CEUs are approved for psychologists and social workers. However, as Pernilla just shared, you can submit a proposal to your governing body and ask. So in order to be eligible, we have a list of requirements, which I will put into the chat in a little bit. So you'll need to do 100 hours of contact with resonant healing, and that can happen in a combination of different ways. Some of those hours can be from working with partners. So those of you who are consistently or sometimes in courses with Sarah may recognize these opportunities to work one-on-one with resonance partners, to be able to be practicing this material together as things arise for you, to be able to begin to notice what it's like to be held in this material and what it's like to hold somebody else in this material, as well as hours needed for live online training or in-person training. In the case with Sarah, it would be online, and you may know other certified practitioners that are offering training, and that's all eligible as well. So you need at least 50 hours of that training. And I'll get the link and I'll put that in, and I'll also put it below the YouTube video so that you can see what the requirements are in written form rather than my verbal saying, which I may have missed some of the details, but it's 100 hours total of contact.
Thank you. And Sarah, can you say a bit about why we've set this up this way?
Yes. It takes Pernilla and Asha have been doing this, I think, for maybe 10 years each, and they're also they're noticing this, so they'll testify, I think, to the way that the material deepens over time. It deepens with exposure, it deepens with contact, it deepens with study, it deepens with practice, and it deepens with the years of time that we spend doing it. So we've created a program which moves pretty quickly, that has a lot of contact hours embedded in it, and we'll ask the folks who are going to speak from the program how many hours a week they spend, so that you have a good idea of what you would be committing to. So we require the 100 hours of contact. It's a new requirement, and we're looking to see if it's enough. We may even increase it after this next cohort, depending on how prepared people come in to be able to do it. And Jaya, you mentioned you have something.
Yeah, I just want to mention, in my not having it ready, someone just asked in the chat, do the courses that we do from the website that are pre-recorded count? And up to 25 hours counts. And what we ask for is that you provide us with a journal entry, and at the bottom of the certification program, I provided some forms for you that you can fill out, including the questions. What we want to know is how does, if you're watching something pre-recorded, how are you moved by the material? How do you imagine you might apply this? So all those questions are there, and it's just a couple of sentences per hour that you do. So if you end up watching a pre-recorded webinar, if you end up attending Sarah's webinars live, those can count, or you can watch those. So there's lots of low-cost ways to engage with this learning.
And when we say live, we mean that Sarah is alive during the presentation, rather than that you have to be with me physically. I'm not doing anything out physically in the world at this particular moment, so it's Zoom is live.
Yeah, what we mean is you,
recorded
with your camera on, engaged, going into the breakout rooms.
Yes.
Or engaged by listening to Sarah for the evening webinars. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people who are wanting the time to be counted would let Jaya know, I'm here to have this time counted. And then we would be keeping an eye out to make sure that there's engagement and presence, because the brain does not change without engagement and contact.
Yeah, thank you.
Not change just by listening.
I want to say a tiny bit about this, about how the brain changes over time.
Yeah.
So I met you for the first time in 13 and have been a committed student since 14, I think. And back then you said there is an 8 months mark where you experience some level of integration. And then there is another 3 years mark where you're sort of noticing that you are on the next level of integration and being less triggered and stuff. And then there is a 5-year mark. That's when it's really integrated. And I can say that probably counts for lots of your students, but it didn't for me. So it's been this last year, the last 2 years. So let's say from 20, so that would be my 7 years mark. That was when I suddenly woke up and had a sense that something had changed for good within me. And this is such a totally sweet experience. And noticing how I can be of service for other people and compassionate even when people are cross with me. Yeah, that kind of things. So I can confirm.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, just that I can't confirm that it's 8 months, 3 years, 5 years, but I can confirm that it takes some jumps. It's not just a linear integration curve.
And between 7 and 10 years, people's dreams start to change. And they start to have a resonating self-witness that enters their dreams and talks to them and holds them. It's very interesting how much the brain changes with this work.
Wonderful. Yes. All right. So now this was sort of the basics, the enthusiasm from Sarah's own mouth, supported by Jaya and myself. And now I would like to give the word, if some of our grads would like to speak, and after that we would ask some of our students in the recent course. But we've got Gosha, we've got Joe, we've got Gabby, and we've got Asha and myself, who were grads from the first call. So I'm wondering, Gosha, would you be willing to say a little bit about how this program was for you?
Of course, I do. Well, it is one of the best decisions of my life, I can say, because I really experienced change in my inner voice and how my body reacts, and I still experience it, and I will always emphasize this, that living with me every day is better. And this is also affecting other people or relationships. So you can do it. You can use some resonant, resonant language toward other people without any session, just with conversation, and they just opens, and it is beautiful.
Wonderful. Oh, so confirming to hear. I haven't been in connection with you for a while, which it's just good to hear. And Gosha, can you say a little bit about how how you, or if you're using it professionally or with other people in some targeted way. That I think that would be sweet to know.
Well, I use it with when I need to have relationship with somebody. It is really doesn't matter if it is professional, it is private also. I just use Resonant, and I use these expressions. I use this approach toward person, and well, naming those parts of language that you can use, like metaphoric language, like you and me language, sometimes swearing, which is my preferable way of contacting with people if there's a strong emotion. Well, it is hard to say, because it is, you know, I think that my whole existence is in it. It doesn't really mean that when I present, you know, PowerPoint or Excel files, I use resonant language. It is not true. But when it is connected with creating relationships, it's always connected with resonance.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Kasia. And Joe, I'm wondering if, yes, oh, you're raising your hand. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, for me, I've been following and a big fan of Sarah's since 2017, just before her first book came out. And for me, I'm also assisting on the current training, and I think I've mentioned it before. I really valued my experience on the first training. It was, and now I'm offering that work to other people, and it really does give me delight at some of the shifts that can be created from one contract being released or one time travel, and then the following session. It's like, wow, I can't begin to tell you how my life's changed from that one intervention. So yeah, I can absolutely testify to the work, both for myself and for those I offer it with. And I can also say that for me, the training that I'm assisting on feels more like a 5-year progression to when we did it. So I really do value the work. I can't remember who I'm quoting for this, which I apologize about, but they said, you know, some people say they have 20 years experience, but really they have 1 year repeated 20 years. And for me, this work is about really growing, and somebody who's 20 years experienced really has grown and evolved. And for me, this training mirrors that. It really does show that as Sarah learns, she changes and she brings other people in to kind of help design. So it really is involved. And I suppose being an ambivalently attached person when insecure, would also like to give some warnings of, it really is a lot of work. I've done coaching trainings and I've done foundation in psychotherapy training, and I would put it at that level. It really is an in-depth learning that requires a commitment to not only learn the work, but to go through the process yourself. And I would really like to add the warning, this has been amazing for me, and at times really difficult with my other relationships. So just to say, if you do this program, you will change, in my opinion, for the better. And that change has knock-on effects. So to be really, mindful that this is a profound experience, both internally and up here and beyond. But I cannot, I almost cry with joy at the people I'm working with and how much they tell me that their world's already changed, and that's nowhere near the 3-year mark. It's some of them, it's within 2 months. So I really do, and I don't give praise easily, although it might not sound like it here. I can tell you many modalities if we have a coffee, and I can bitch and moan about them for hours. So yeah, I would say, yeah, this really has touched my world and those I work with in a unique and wonderful way. And yeah, I have deep love for this work and Sarah. So I'm biased from that.
Wonderful, Joe. I have no additional questions for you. Thanks a lot for standing up. And Gabby,
sorry, can I just say, and I identify as ADHD and autistic, so when I get going excitedly, I speak very fast, so apologies for if I went off like a train.
Thank you. Enjoy your enthusiasm a lot, and I know that you haven't been exaggerating what you've got from it. Thank you. And Gabby from the darkness.
Yes, I'm sorry for the darkness. I was just trying the coffee shop next to here, but it was so loud that I preferred to stay in the car, so it's quite dark. It's really difficult to add anything to what Joe just said. And I wanted to say something that stays with me. Once Sarah said that as long as we don't know ourselves really fully relaxed, we don't know ourselves, our creativity, our joy, the way we can really go through life. And that is a new level of experience, of experiencing myself that I have reached thanks to the work that I've been doing for the past few years, and that I hope continuing, because it's really a work in progress. And just today I had new insights and new I was really touched with my internal conversation, and I'm endlessly grateful to Sarah for starting this program. It wouldn't happen, and I am now just enjoying my internal critical voice and saying, yeah, of course you want to, you really want me to succeed, and this is why you're saying that. It's really, yeah. And it helps so much. So there are those internal mechanisms that wouldn't be possible, and I would just feel down. And now I'm just feeling not only relaxed, but I'm feeling like, wow, I had a new internal conversation. Wow. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gabby. Thanks for stepping up from the darkness. And Asha, I'm wondering if there is anything you'd like to say, and knowing that you are the co-organizer and co-initiator of this program, so everybody alert. Asha is a bit biased, but still your voice counts totally.
Yes, I can only speak about my perspective, personal perspective.
Oh, you're breaking a bit up. Perhaps I think you need to turn off your camera because you were frozen anyway. I don't know if you hear me. Could be that you're speaking. We'll give Asha a moment. Asha, I think your connection doesn't support this, unfortunately, so I will just mute you again, and we will, yeah, I'll write to Asha for sure. I can't mute her. Okay, so let's see. Perhaps Asha will interrupt us when the next person is speaking. So we've got a few people here who is in the current program. There's Catherine. There is, let me see whom I see on my screen. Julie, yes. Any of you who would like to say a little bit about what your experience here is?
And Catherine has her hand up.
Yeah, Catherine, please.
I would like to and just say hello, and I feel so fortunate to be joining this community, and it is a community, and I've been in processing my whole life. The way I've come to understand it is so much has been attending to the symptoms of my trauma, and I'm just so grateful to be given the words and the understanding of what is happening. is amazing. And so that being one, and then the other, I come out of many years of, kind of Gestalt processing, some somatic. So I, was looking for that kind of thing. It's very hard to find training and community that can do this thing of holding space and enabling you to have the experience of the training. And the fact that you've accomplished this over Zoom and in a community that involves people coming in and new, and I just know how difficult that is. So I just have so much gratitude that's what I've been able to experience in this community, is that I get the learning and then I get to experience it, receive the benefit on myself, and then being in practice with others in the community. And then it's where I'm halfway through this first year of training, that we're learning to help each other practice. And that's a result of releasing contracts and doing this work. And so many benefits. And when I hear you talk about the years, I'm looking forward to that. I feel like I've been doing this about 1.5 years. I look forward to the continuing healing, and then working with I do work with others, and it's just tremendous to watch others be released of their trauma and pain. So thank you.
Wonderful, Catherine. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we almost need somebody to say something harsh, don't we, in order to break this silky surface of everything is wonderful. But I don't know if that's possible. And well, I certainly wouldn't invite it. I'm just wanting to name that this is so so sweet. That where is the contrast? Julie, are you willing to speak about how your experience has been so far? Thank you.
Sorry, I won't be here to help you on the other swing. It's still going to be on the same lines, I'm afraid. I may also have the verbal talk too much that Joe has. It might be an English thing, or so for me personally, I've very similar to Joe. I've been on my own journey, and then I found Sarah's book, and Sarah's book just hit so many buttons for me, just so many. And finally, there was somebody pulling all of my passions together in one place. So I love the neuroscience, and I love the resonance language, and I love the processes and how you get to use the resonant language within the processes. So I have come on leaps and bounds in my own personal journey, and I can say that I definitely hit the 3-year mark. I've had a season, this summer season, of being back amongst people in the UK who like to blame, use contempt on a regular basis. And I have been just sitting there quietly thinking, oh, only you knew Sarah. Oh, bless you. And it was uncomfortable to be around them, but it didn't change internally. And it was such a good reminder of how my head used to be. It was just, it really helped me notice the change. And also I do work with clients. I have another modality that I have integrated resonance into, and I am seeing absolutely amazing results. And the processes are so easy to introduce. People understand them. I did a contract just the other day with a person. I was like, I don't know how they're going to take this, and they swam through it. They were coming up with some amazing blessings. I was like, oh my God. It was just, it's amazing. So that's my work journey. If I can talk about the course itself, I just want to say that in the first retreat, the work was amazing. And I think we were all a bit emotionally drained on different days. It was a 5-day, the first one. And day 5, it hit me. And that was a day that Sarah went through blame and contempt and told us about our dead zone of emotion. And my heart just sank. It just sank. Because I really thought that I was getting to near the top of the mountain of my own journey. And in that moment, I realized that the clouds had parted and there was this massive mountain that was twice as big as the one I just climbed. And I was like, no, I haven't got that much work to do. No, surely not. So thankfully, I had an assistant who was Gabby, and that's what I want to praise, that during the journey of the certification, in all of our training, there are assistants. So when you have that moment that your resonant witness just abandons you, one of the assistant comes in and grabs you and holds you. And Gabby was amazing, because I was gone. I was gone down so many levels of the elevator. I don't know how she got me back up, but she did. And so I'm also grateful that everything was recorded. And I've been back to that day watching the recordings, and I'm like, oh, that's what was going on, because I was so dissociated. So I'm grateful for the recordings. We're also given journey people, and they are just, there for us to give us an experience of what our clients might experience. We have monthly community calls. So when you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, especially about the self-assessment, what am I going to do with this? You turn up in the community and Peniel goes, don't worry, I'll just talk you through that. And we mean this and we mean that. And you go, oh. And the groups that we're in, the buddies that we have, and also the website itself, our classroom is full of guides and full of prompts, and it's so supportive. And my last point was the self-assessment. I was terrified. Just the word assessment sent me into a spin. And yet that is probably the most enriching processes I've been through. And I am just in awe of how clever the questions are, that not only did it enrich my personal journey, but it was done in such a way that gave you guys a real understanding of where I am on this journey for you to guide me where to go. So unfortunately, Peniel, I have got nothing negative to say, as you can hear. I'm having an absolute blast.
Oh, thanks a lot, Julie. Yeah, and wonderful. You're also touching some of the components of the program. Yeah, and we will speak more about those components just in a short while. I just want to check if Asha, who's back with us, would you like to try again?
Yes, if the connection is stable enough. Can you hear me?
Right, yes.
Yeah, wonderful. I was so engaged with Julie talks that I almost forget what I want to say, but I want to say that I don't know what was heard before, but I'm a totally different person due to Sarah's work. And from me, maybe it's not a harsh word, but it's very demanding in regard energy and time program, which we will talk later. But it's not about knowing what is resonance, but it's also about doing and experiencing it. So if you would like to join the program, please have in mind that it's really program when you need to engage with your time and energy. But about me, I'm working as a coach and as a trainer and mediator, and in all those moments, I'm so happy that I'm more aware about left shifts and how can I reach people more and more aware where I am at a certain moment. So you didn't ask me this question, but when I'm using this with my children, with my husband, with my sister, with my clients. And it makes me inside more warm and welcome person for myself and also for others. So I'm fully in love with Sarah material and the program, of course. I am.
Thank you. Okay, so before I speak some more with some more informational material, I'd like to just check if there are any questions so far about the what we've been talking about so far. So not the nuts and bolts and logistics, but the content and the being in the program.
I received a question. I don't know if it quite counts for what you're looking for, but I received an anonymous question. So someone's wondering, do most people who join this program, who have become active professional resonant healers, also have academic degrees, such as undergraduate or master degrees, as psychologists?
Yes, we haven't made a thorough survey of people's academic or in other ways educational backgrounds. What I can say is that I don't have an academic background, and I know of several others who haven't. So it's not needed. What is needed is some discipline when it comes to taking in material. And there are many ways to do that apart from sitting during the night time on your own and being lonely, because the practice groups are a rich source of co-learning. So I guess the question comes out of some concern about whether their background is enough. Yeah.
What they wrote was they added just a little bit more. So I'll just read what they say here. I'm wanting to enjoy as much ease as I can as I do this incredible work with people. So I'm imagining that if I'm already a certified therapist, this place will provide me with broad learning and also provide me with the ability to offer clients the freedom to use their insurance coverage to help pay for sessions and will help me receive clients. And I would say absolutely, and I'll let Brunella add anything.
Yeah, I mean, what you can call yourself after graduation of this program is resonant healing psychotherapist. So you don't have to give up on your former title. You can just add resonant healing if you want to. And if you don't want to, you can still infuse everything you're doing with this, and people will say, wow, what a person. They got me. Thank you for that question. And let's go to the hands up. That's Kate as the first one.
Hi. I've really liked Sarah's work since first encountering it 3 years ago when someone said the inner critic might actually be trying to do good things for you. And I thought, what? And then 2.5 years ago, I went on Sarah's retreat, and 20 minutes later, I was cured of a major trauma. Like, don't forget the 5 years. This was 20 minutes. I plunged into the worst possible thing imaginable, and Sarah was amazing. And so I've hung in there, and I like what Sarah's doing. And here comes the but. I am also, the way my life is unfolding is lots of things are emerging for me. I'm getting more deeply into different types of Buddhism. I am a Quaker. I am really interested in internal family systems. And all of these things, and Thomas Hübel's work, and all of these things are coming together in different ways and moving me forward. It's like I'm living in this wonderful kaleidoscope of things that come in. And some things hit and I think, no. Some things I think, wow, that's a little illumination there. And is there space for that in this program? Is my question.
Yes, absolutely. I think I've looked into everything you said as well, and I'm practicing it also. When we practice in our practice groups and with our practice buddies in this program, we keep ourselves to the pure resonant healing because we want to get that under our skin before we go out and start merging it with other modalities. But it is absolutely mergeable once you've got it fully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And Janet. Oh,
there we go.
there was
I'm on my iPad, which I'm not used to using as much. I was having computer issues today. Thank you, Kate, for asking that question. Mine is in a similar vein. I've been a nurse and a nurse practitioner a very, very long time, but the last 30 years has been a major time of expansion in the way I embrace nursing and working with clients. And I am certified as a holistic nurse and a holistic nurse coach. And it's just been so many modalities that resonate. And I will use that word resonate because that has been part of my learning to Sarah Peyton before opening this world of your work, which I'm incredibly moved by. I refer a lot of my clients to your website and your work, and I've begun to now come into it because it's open for me. But there's so many things that I've learned and done that are embodied. You know, I'm an interactive guided imagery practitioner, which is an amazing way to move into someone's resonance, into their higher knowing. And I've taken Rick Hanson's positive neuroplasticity, which was sparked me in that whole vein of neuroscience and just so many pieces. So I guess one of my concerns is I know that when I start, and I'm also a family system constellator, that's recent too, with Jane Peterson, which actually is the main place, Sarah, that I heard your name again and again from different constellators. And I'm still honing that skill. And I'm grateful that that's a part of what you do as well. And so I guess I worry sometimes about how will I be embraced having embodied some of these, and definitely be open to all of the resonance, because I'm an integrator. When I work with somebody, I never know what will come forward for that person, what will be the greatest fit. And it tends to combine, and so many things come into play. And that's the beauty of being in that space with someone, moving where I'm guided to move with them. So I guess that's my concern. And I want to make sure if I'm embarking in this, that I can be my true self in this work. And having said that, I know I'm going to do a lot of personal growth, because that always happens no matter what I do. And I'm appreciating that opportunity.
Thank you, Jenny. Let's hand it over to Sarah right away.
Oh, yes. Well, as Pernilla mentioned, you are welcome to take this work away from the program and do anything you'd like with it. You're welcome to integrate it with IFS, with coaching, with whatever it is that you'd like to do. But in order to negotiate the program, you will have to differentiate everything else from this, because this is a very specific, very rigorous approach to being with language. So coaching questions, for example, derail a resonance process. Moving into constellation work, this is very possible once we've learned what resonant language is, but we don't want to have the constellation language show up in the resonant language specific practice sessions. Does this make any sense, Jan, that there's a specificity to the practice that requires rigor and requires a purity of vision? Then you take it away, you do anything you want with it. Is this making sense?
It does, Sarah. So maybe I can ask a more specific question then. In the practicums, when we're working with each other, I can definitely stick with that process. I mean, I've done that with internal relationship focusing and a lot of different techniques that I've learned. If we're being asked to, during the certification process, to look back at how are we utilizing it with our clients?
No, you don't need to do that part as part of the certification process. You get to have whatever relationship you want with your clients.
Okay. Yeah. Because the resonant language already has begun to come in, but I know I just have this bit.
Yeah.
you know, and I can see this being a major expansion. I'm really looking forward to that. But I was worried about, you know, and I'm 73. I mean, I keep going, what am I doing? When will I ever fully grow up and have that? But it's like I'm a lifelong learner, and I go where I'm guided by spirit, and this has just been an amazing place.
I'm so glad. And being a lifelong learner is so good for our brains.
So thank you for the time to ask that, because that was important.
Oh, thank you for asking, and with such clarity.
Wonderful. And coming to Carol.
Hi. I'm really happy to hear these most recent questions, comments from people, because I don't have anything that I would refer to as clients now, or I don't think of that as happening in the near future. I'm about to retire as an academic of Middle Eastern studies, of Arabic things that completely unrelated. But I would say for the last 10, 15 years, heart-centered practices of all kinds have been what's come to the fore for me, mostly in the form of collective singing, multi-part harmony singing, but also what other people were mentioning, Buddhism, all these other different kinds of practices, embodied movement, all kinds of things. I also feel like I bring them, I experience them, and I bring them to whatever I'm doing now, mostly in the realm of facilitating life cycle song circles and things like that. So I'm just wondering, and I've also done several courses with Sarah. I'm in the middle of some now, and I love them. They feel like they're resonating with just what I want to learn now. And I've been, part of why I'm here is because those feel like I grab something and it gives me a hint of what I could taste, but I'm really wanting something more systematic. I'm just trying to more like structured and progressing in some way. And I'm just wondering, because I'm not, I guess because I don't have currently, I don't have clients and things like that, and it sounds like initially it sounded like this is mostly geared for people to bring into their practice with clients as psychotherapists or coaches and things like that. I'm hearing just from the last few comments that that's not necessarily the case, that I could take what I learn here for my own growth and bring it to wherever I want to take it. But I'm just curious to hear if this is the right
have the intention to work with others in some way, because people who've entered the program without that intention have not followed through with their commitments to their small groups. So we really need this full commitment to the mission, which then sort of sustains people to participate in all the elements of the program. Is that making a little bit of sense, Carol? Yeah. And you after you go through the first year, you have the chance of becoming an assistant in the second year. And being an assistant in the second year involves lots and lots of work with clients, with people in the first year. So there are many ways to move forward and hold and sort of hold the mission of the world itself becoming a little better. Is that making some sense? Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And there was a question here. Jessica asks, would this program be suitable for someone not already in practice? So I would actually encourage you to sign up for a short chat with me, and we'll talk about what your background is and what your commitment to yourself is, and see how that fits, so that that you will get a good experience, and that just to make sure that it fits. So I'll just write my direct scheduling link for you, and if somebody else have questions that are sort of more personal about how they see themselves fitting into the program, feel free to sign up for a 15-minute session with me. And Jaya, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there's lots of ways in which we work with people in the world. I mentioned in the chat that prior to becoming a coach and prior to getting involved in resonant healing, I was a classroom teacher and interacted with nervous systems constantly in this way. And so you can be an educator, you can be a ski instructor, as mentioned before. There's so much need for resonance in the world. So it's really, what is your mission to touch other hearts and brains, and how do you want that kind of interactivity to look in your overall vision for your life?
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Julie.
I wonder if you'd welcome me answering that from the experience I've had with people in my cohort.
Yes.
So I have somebody in my cohort who is a pastor, and so they use it in the groups and in their community. But I've also had somebody who is one of my buddies who has left the certification because they came in wanting something for themselves, to talk to their immediate family and friends and people around them, and so they found Sarah's other courses fit better for that, and that because I don't think they had the 100 hours, and so they felt they needed the 100 hours to be able to put that before they could think that they could start becoming a practitioner of it, if that's something that they wanted to do. So I would say Sarah's got lots of work, and just as they're saying, without an intention to know who you're going to use it with and how you're going to use it to enrich, I wonder if it is the place for you. But I definitely think Sarah's work is a place for all of us, whether it's the certification program or whether it's one of the other things, I don't know. But Sarah's work, for sure, certification needs an intention to use.
Yes. Yes, I like that distinction. But there are lots of other courses with Sarah if you don't have this intention of working with others. Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm kind of echoing what Julie said, and also for me, it's very much about. Sorry, I've lost my word for a second. Yeah, so for me, it's very much about this course. You learn Sarah's work into incredible detail and with a really well-designed structure. What it doesn't teach you is how to be in a room with people and offer any form of work. And for me, that can be wonderful, because I remember going for a golf lesson once, and the golf teacher was like, if you've ever just picked up a club and hit a ball, I've got a lot of work to undo before I teach you how to hit a ball properly. So for me, to learn this work first means you won't have to undo other modalities or other ways of being, but it won't teach you how to set up a business, be ready when the door opens and who knows what's walking in. It doesn't teach you that, and it's very clear, but it does teach you how to do Sarah's work beautifully. And for me, as already been said, and you need to be wanting to offer this to a choir or to a ski team or something for it to really work. Otherwise, I would say juicy relational skills is, I would do that every year myself, just to be with Sarah and learn the work and go into breakouts and go, oh my God, are you? So yeah, I would do that every year, and I'm sure I'd benefit from it. So yes, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, so let me go through what the program contains when it comes to the components, what you will be spending your time and energy on and benefit tremendously from. So there are 4 online retreats. There's one of 5 days, which is the basics. Then not so long after that, and you'll find all the dates on the page. There is a deepening module where we talk, and this is 3 days. And in this deepening module, we'll talk more about how to work with others. So in the beginning, it's more about all the concepts themselves. And so you have a few months to integrate that. Then there is the deepening module for working with others. Half a year later, there is an extra deepening module, because now you've got all this experience. So now we're going to nerd details about it. And then there is an integration and celebration module of 3 days in the very end. So those are we call them retreats, and it's all online. It's 7 hours a day, each of them with a 1 hour break in the middle. It's intense, and it's good. Then we've got your practice groups, and as a rule of thumb, you will meet every week with your practice group, and both receive resonant healing so that you can process your own material, and also practice holding someone in this process and receive feedback. So that's a very important component of the practice groups, that we offer each other feedback. We grow each other through feedback, and there is guidance for how to give feedback in a loving and growing manner. There is the journaling. We suggest you journal once a week. If you rather like to journal the last 50 days of the program, we won't come after you. It's just a little bit waste, because journaling is very rich, and we will offer you journaling prompts so that it becomes in support of this work and not just writing down your stream of thoughts. We ask you to review a number of your own sessions, preferably reading the transcripts of it, and we'll support you on how to get them made. But because this is an unexpected source of learning if you've never tried that before. To really sit and listen to your own voice and see the response, and to read it in front of you and notice where you just caught something intuitively and where you just lost something totally, in order to become more aware of your own role as the support person. So that's the reviewing of own sessions. Monthly, there will be community calls. They are held twice so that we accommodate time zones better. And there is Sarah's neurobiology webinars. And if you're like me from Europe, then you will probably not join them live, but you will listen to the recordings, because they're in the evening of Pacific time in the US. And that's fine to listen to the recordings, watch the recordings. You heard Julie talk about the self-assessment, and we've actually decided to give it a different name in order to not activate people's nervous systems too badly. So I think the new name will be Travel Log or something like that. So this is where we check in with you about how are you learning, how are you integrating this, and we present it in a way so that it also becomes a learning experience for you. And Sarah has the most amazing feedback for everybody, where she really catches what we've learned and perhaps points to something to look at next. And then there is the full transcript. So by the end of the course, everybody will send a full transcript of a 1 hour session to Sarah, and she will review it and send you thorough feedback for it. So those are the components. Did I miss anything looking at the team?
I think the primary thing, if it hasn't been mentioned, is that attendance is mandatory.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Attendance is mandatory. Yeah, thank you. And we are willing to have conversations with you if you live in China and have difficulties with this, and don't expect us to give you general exceptions from this.
Yes, we had people who were signed up, and then they would say, "Oh, I'm going to a wedding. I'm just going to be gone," and just expecting that to be just fine. But no, that means you're not there to learn the stuff that needs to be learned. So it's 100% commitment to attendance and to having your camera on, and to being in a place that's quiet and doesn't have other people in it. Or if you're in a place that has other people in it, then you have headphones so that privacy is not disrupted, and so that everything stays in your own brain and the computer, rather than going into your living place with other people in it. So we're very, and we actually pay attention to whether people are there and whether they have their cameras on and whether they're participating in the breakouts, because you just cannot learn this stuff by not participating. It is not physically possible. The brain does not change unless you're in there grappling with it. So that's something to keep in mind if you'd like to sign up.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Julie, thank you. Process work. Yes, Sarah is actually offering a number of process work sessions of 2 hours where between 2 and 4 students get a chance to have a personal process with Sarah.
So not
Yes.
everybody gets a personal process, but the people that do, it's lovely.
Yeah. Yes, and but what everybody does get is sessions with a graduate. So that I forgot to name as well. So we can't say the exact number because that depends on our graduates and their availability, but count on about 5-ish sessions during the year where you will work with somebody who has integrated resonant healing already, and you will have private sessions with them. The sessions with Sarah will be for everybody in the course, and we'll ask you to watch them also if you didn't attend them live. But your private sessions will be private, just for you. Thank you. Was that what you wanted to say, Joe?
Yeah, and just that it's a commitment to go and have those sessions with the journey person. It's not just a bonus, but that actually my understanding is there's a requirement to have experienced the 5 or however many sessions with the journey person.
Right.
Yeah, and and that it is as if you are paying to see someone doing this work. It's not just a time to talk about the course and the learning. It's a time to, this is what I would like to work on, and then to go into the work. And yeah. And then you also get the opportunity, once you've received your certification, to offer this process to others. And I've been doing that this year, and it's been a real gift. So yeah, it's a two-way street.
Totally. Yes. So as you see, we're trying to reach as many different learning styles as ever possible, and to really make this an all inclusive program. And we hope you receive it in that spirit. Julie.
And just to say more about Sarah's processes, is why I raised them, is that they're also an opportunity to keep seeing the material done by the person that knows this so well. And you just, when you're in the processes, you get to know your community, know the people you're working with, the traumas that they're dealing with. And you also get to see Sarah's work, and you're tracking a session. And then also with your journey person, you're really truly experiencing it. And for me, I was able to do both. It was like experience it myself and also be observing myself and thinking, oh, when they say this, I know what that feels like now. And when I do this, I know what that feels like now. So it's very enriching.
Thank you. All right, so those were the bits about the content, the components of the course. I don't think there's anything else I forgot. Sorry.
There's a couple of questions in the chat. Is now a good time?
I think now would be a very good time.
So I have one private, but somebody asked, how many people are usually attending this program at a time?
We are in the 50s. We've been in the 50s, both with the first and the second cohort. We have a limit of 60 people, and that hasn't been fully met yet. But that is as much as Sarah can hold in her brain, because you will, if you sign up for this program, you will step into a personal relationship with Sarah. She will get to know us all. There will be more people on the calls though, because the assistants will also join, and there will be a number of assistants, between 10 and 20 most likely. And these are graduates from former years who would like to take on some responsibilities in return for having the whole material once again. So if you do the third cohort, you can be assistants on the fourth.
And then There's an anonymous question, and this might be a question for Sarah or Pernilla. You may like to answer it. How far along in my own growth do I need to be in order to be an effective, empowering, resonant healing practitioner?
You need to be able to do the program. You need to be far enough along in your own growth that you're not terribly triggered by other group participants or by people who are in authority, like people who are saying, gosh, we really want you to be present the whole time. That if you find that you chafe very badly under being asked to do things that are specific, then it's time to do trauma work outside of the program until you feel like your body is ready to jump through hoops. I mean, there are some hoops to jump through, just because we need to know that you're integrating the material. So if you don't like hoop jumping, then stay with some other programs until your body starts to relax and you have more flexibility and ease. And if you enjoy, like knowing what you're supposed to do and getting it done, then it's a good time to start. Did I answer that question at all, Pernilla?
Yes, you did. Wonderful. Yes, wonderful.
And then to be a practitioner, you just need to get through the program and have a sense of the rigor of the language, and then all sorts of marvelous things will happen. Yeah. So there's sort of two different pieces. One is, when am I ready to go in the program? And when am I ready to be a resonant healing practitioner? You might be ready to be a healing practitioner before you're ready to go through the program, which means that you would just learn the material and start on your own and not pay any attention to me and to us, but which is also a possibility. But in terms of working with rigor, we need a little bit of trauma work under our belts to be able to stay in the program and not get triggered.
Thank you. Roberta asks, how often do you start a new cohort? So far, it's been every 1.5 years. We don't know if that will keep up that pace for the future, but we know that the next cohort will start in September 2023. And Asha, would you say a bit about what the costs are?
Sure, thank you. And you hear me, yes? Okay, so we have prices differentiated for Global North and Eastern Europe and Global South. And early bird price is available till 30th of April. You need to register and pay by the date, and it's $5,200 US of early birds for Global North and 5,700 for after every bird for Global North. And Eastern Europe and Global South is 4,200 early bird rate, and then it's after the 30th of April, it's 4,700, and it's all written on the website, which already they a few times linked in to the chat. And we are also offering a partial scholarship program, which Pernilla, you mentioned, yes?
Yeah, and before I do that, I'd like to just say a few words about the payment. So as default, we ask you to pay a deposit when you are accepted into the program of $300, and then pay half of the remaining fee before the early bird price deadline, and then the other half of your course fee, you'll pay that when there is a half year left of the program. So we are very moderate in our request of payment, that we know that it can for some people be a lot of money to raise, and so it's okay to pay it in these, or it's default to pay it in these two portions. And if you want to pay it all up front, you are also very welcome. If you want some more detailed payment plans, you need to contact us. Yes, that's the best thing I can say about that. Okay, and so about reduced price. We know that this program has been it's been very popular to apply for reduced price. So much that last year we had way more people applying for reduced price or being dependent on having a reduced price than we had full paying people. And so that was a difficult situation for us because we do have costs and we're a whole team behind this program and all this. So we've decided to do it differently this year. So during the month of November this year, it's possible to apply via an application process for a partial scholarship. And it will all go on the website. And if you sign up for having more news about the certification program, these news will go to you. And what we prioritize is to offer partial scholarships to people from what we call underserved communities, which means from countries with a very low purchasing power, with people who belong to marginalized groups and have little opportunities for raising the money themselves. Those will be first priority for us. And we expect there will be more applications for scholarships than we can accommodate. So there will be some negotiations, and there will be some possibly some people that we will disappoint. So our encouragement is that if you want to join through a partial scholarship, please do seek other options as well. Is there any option of crowdfunding or something else? Having somebody to sponsor you, that would be a wonderful thing to do in support of your partial scholarship. But that would also be in the scholarship application process that we encourage you to seek out other ways in addition to what we can offer you. Right. Okay, so we are about the end of what was on the agenda for today, and I'd love to open for any more questions.
Before we do that, I'd just like to speak just a little bit about the application process.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that was on the agenda too.
Yes, no worries. So we'll open up applications today. The process to doing that is you need to contact me. And what we require is that you'll be 25% at least along in your prerequisites with a plan to complete your prerequisites by our start date for Module 1 in order to apply. And what I most look forward to with the application is hearing from each of you about what your vision is for resonant healing. What do you love about this? How does it move you? What are you most excited about creating in the world? So the application process is quite in depth, and I'll put the link into the chat. It's quite in depth, so I actually encourage folks. We'd like to encourage folks to take a look, and you can prepare your application in a separate document and then paste it in. The form will save your progress for 30 days, but just because it's such a rich opportunity to be with yourself and really envision what it is you want to do with this program, recommend that you spend some time with yourself. Again, it says in there, longer answers are not necessarily better. A short paragraph, 2 or 3 is really, really welcome. I feel so fortunate that I'll be able to read those. And what I'd love to do is just to get to meet each of you. Many of you I already know, but I look forward to knowing you on a deeper level. And so I've put the form in there. I recommend that if you already have the prerequisites well on your way, that you start working on your application. And if you have questions about how to complete your prerequisites, your 100 hours, you're welcome to reach out and have a conversation with me. I'd be so happy to help you. Is there anything else that needs to be added, Pernilla?
Well, I'd just like to say that you are embarking on this journey the moment you open the application process, because it is a very resonant experience. I can say that because I didn't write the answer, the questions, but I certainly enjoyed them when I read through them recently. Yes. No, I've got nothing else. So thank you. More questions are welcome. While you're considering if there is anything you haven't got an answer to yet, I'd hand the word over to Sarah for anything that has come up for you while you've heard people asking.
I'm just very grateful to Pernilla and Asha for deciding that this was something that the world needed and putting all the effort in to make it get off the ground and fly. It's just been, it just wouldn't have happened without you. And I'm so grateful to do it. I love knowing that more people get to receive resonance. So I'm very grateful that so many of you are here on this learning call today to find out about the program. And we have approximately 70 or 85 people more who are on the list to receive the recording. So to speak to those of you who are listening to the recording also, welcome. Thank you for your interest. We hope we've answered your questions. If we haven't, then please contact Jaya at help@sarahpeyton.com and we'll get you answers to anything that you need to know.
And I got a private question here. Will the information about the scholarship come through an email? Yes, if you've signed up for notifications about the certification training, then it'll be sent out. And I guess it'll also go out through one of your newsletters, Sarah, won't it?
And if you're here, you're already on that list to receive, unless you've unsubscribed, in which case you may need to resubscribe with a new email address.
Wonderful. Okay, so it seems like there are no more questions, and I would really love to hear a few first-hand impressions from you who signed up to receive more information. How have we been doing, and how are you feeling in this moment? You can write it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. Helga.
Yeah, hello. I'm a little scared because one point is age, and maybe there are younger people who want to place in this program, and maybe my lifespan is too short to bring it to the world. And this is one question. English is another question. Well, English, it's getting better for me, and the technical things is pretty hard for me. So several times I asked Jaya with an Excel, and yeah, this is one point. And so can you tell me something about the 10? I heard something about 10 hours a week online. Is this true?
It's 5 to 10 hours a week on top of the online retreats. And those hours are for your practice group, for your journaling, for reviewing a transcript. So for the community meeting once a month. Yes, so there is, I mean, this is the hard reality of today, that we do it online. On the other hand, if we did it physically, that we would exclude a lot of people who couldn't travel. Yeah.
But have you had success with Jaya helping you?
50%. Yes.
We'll keep working on it, Helga.
Okay.
Jaya will be helping.
Okay.
And in terms of age, I just want to say the cool thing about brains is, I love this about brains. Brains are like fine wine. they get more and more and more complex and dense and interconnected and able to make connections the older we get. So there is no age discrimination or even preference. I mean, we love having younger people join just because it's such sweetness, but we have nothing against older brains. Older brains rock. How's this to hear, Helga?
Okay.
Helga, how is this to hear?
Yeah, thank you very much. One more question. I love traveling. Is it possible? Is it 1 year of program? Is it possible to travel during this time?
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah.
I mean,
Do some
because,
sports.
yeah, because, I mean, you need to arrange that in your practice group,
Okay.
because that will be the ongoing. But you can attend from everywhere in the world. I mean, if you're willing to attend on awkward times.
And I would like to add one more thing. And of course, the program is in English, and Sarah is providing all the material in English. But in the breakout room, you can sometimes practice in German or other languages. So you can be more relaxed sometimes in some exercise in your language, because there are some requests already happening in the program.
Wonderful, and thank you for all these comments in the chat about how this call has been.
And there's a sweet message from Julie saying that she has someone in her practice group where English is not their first language, and it's a gift to be asked to slow down and move through the material differently. So just wanting that to be out loud.
Yeah, there will be several people who don't have English as their first language. As myself and Asha and Gorsha, whom you've heard speaking. Yeah, so there are two hands up. Let's go for them. Roberta.
Thank you. I am new to Resonant healing, and so I wasn't sure if this Q&A today would be if I would get much out of it yet, because I'm very excited about it and planning on doing it, but I'm a bit early for I'm not ready to apply yet. So and the website is so good at describing the program too. I wanted to share with you. I love how detailed it is. So having said that, I wanted to share with you that I did find this very useful today. It was really nice to hear people talking about it live, and really helped make more sense of what I had read online about the program, and did kind of answer a lot of questions for me. So I wanted to share that with you. And I did have one more question, actually, and it's about another program, if you don't mind, the Juicy Relationships program. I clicked over to that and saw it's a 3-part series. And for right now, like the next one that is coming up is part 3. So my question is, should I jump into part 3, or should I wait for the series to start over with part 1 again?
It will start over again in April of 2023. And so if you're interested, if you need the hours, you're welcome to join in the 3rd edition. There's no requirement to have done the other 2, but there will be a new series beginning next year, and it can be a really sweet process to go through the entire program.
Okay, and if does it make a difference to go through it in order, part 1, 2, and 3, and maybe because the people there are going to be the same people, or does it matter if I do part 3 now and then part 1 and part 2 in the spring? Or what are the pros and cons, I guess, of that?
Well, you will meet new people in each different program, but the breakout groups are pretty clear and inclusive. The other possibility to amass a number of hours as quickly as possible, is that there's going to be an NVC Academy boot camp for resonant language that's coming up in December that Jaya, looks like Jaya's nodding, and that she'll put a link into the chat for you. So that's another possibility. That's I think 5 or 6 hours a day for 4 or 5 days in a row. So that lets your brain start steeping in this stuff.
Great. And so I guess I had one other question as far as accumulating hours for the prerequisites. I have started seeing Resonant Healer from the list, from the directory provided on there. So should I just sort of keep track of, I mean, should I keep track of those hours that I spend with them and a little bit of journaling about my experience with that?
In terms of the requirement for hours, you can journal about it, and that would be lovely. But what we want most for those 25 hours of practice is we want it to also be a place where you're exchanging, where you're getting to meet. So if Pradella and I were resonance partners, I might provide some resonance for Pranella, and then we would swap, and then I would have the opportunity to get some support as well. So what we want is your own practice as well involved in it. Totally encourage you to work with Resonant Healing Practitioners. It's a fabulous way, and yet those hours don't necessarily count. And there is a place in the application where you can share a little bit about your exposure as well.
And there's some more questions coming in the chat. And I'd like to go with the two people who have their hands up, and then I think we will close. So Jan.
Thank you. Yes, some of the answers have come, but on the practice things, I've been doing some of the online program. Now that I work, my wife and I both are doing a program together. And so we're doing work with each other. Does that count for hours, or does it have to be with somebody? I mean, it's an online program accessing, it's not a live one. Does that kind of work count?
If you're practicing resonance as taught by Sarah, yes, it does count.
Okay, it's her program. I mean, we're doing her program, and I'm excited about this resident boot camp. I guess I was a little concerned. I would like to apply, but I will work on the hours coming up. I just don't know how that works for registering. And I'm doing the neuroscience thing. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah. I suggest you either reach out to Jaya or book a 15-minute session with me, and we can discuss what your personal.
I will do that. Thank you. And I just wanted to say I'm so impressed with the presentation that you've done today. I feel the resonance, and that matters to me. How my body feels, what I notice in my being, just the responses, the respect, just. It's beautiful, and I've loved hearing from so many people, but thank you for this.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, this is how our community is. Thank you. And Juliana.
Yeah, I want to say hi to you, Sarah, and Jaya. I know both of you are feeling quite well. And Sarah, I want to say your work is so meaningful, and I have bought your book, Sarah, and I keep reading your book and learning whatever I can from it, and from whatever I have attended of yours with your help. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed every bit of it, and I try to go deeper and learn more and use it more. And it's so healing for myself and for people who I worked with. It's so true. And thank you for this work. I just want to say that.
I'm so happy, Juliana. Thank you for saying this. And I just want to also make a very special gratitude to the current students and the current assistants who came to let you guys know about this program. Thank you for being here with us and helping get the word out, because it's deeply meaningful to me. It means that the program is important to you and you love it and you want other people to be able to do it. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I'll maybe do it, Sarah, at another time when I will, more freer, but not this time. But I love your work and appreciate it so much. I just want you to know that.
Oh, thank
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for spending this an hour, 45 minutes with us. If you've got more questions, do send them to help@sarahpeyton.com, where Jaya will answer them and pass them on to me if it's questions that go better to me, or to Sarah, if that's the case. And hope to see you all. We'll do more of these calls if you qualify some of your questions and you'd like to ask them too. And just stay tuned. Any last words from you, Sarah?
Oh, just thank you, everyone, for being interested.
Right. So please unmute your microphones and greet each other. Good night, good day, good morning, wherever you are.